Okay. So one of the most underrated factors to your weight gain and your stress is something called obesogens. Obesogens are basically things that aren't food that can literally cause obesity, meaning our stress, meaning plastics, meaning xenoestrogen, estrogen mimickers, toxic cleaning products, Teflon in our cooking pans, toxic news, toxic people. But from the research, right, things that are tangible like plastic and the cookware like Teflon and PFAS and these things in our cleaning products and these things in our shampoos and conditioners and our deodorants, they cause an insane amount of metabolic dysfunction. So I'm going to back up and share with you that our mitochondria are the powerhouse, the energy, powerhouse of our cells, meaning that if our mitochondria are wounded, if our mitochondria are damaged, then our energy isn't going to be as good as we'd like it to be. And people always say to me, like, oh, I used to be able to eat whatever I wanted until I turned 30. And there's truth in the aging process, and there's so much truth in chronic stress and obesogens, right? When I went through my Epstein-Barr virus, which is reactivated mono, basically, 97% of the population has it, was because I was going through a period of chronic stress. I was doing my corporate job. I was doing my own nutrition business, 40 hours a week in the corporate job, like 15 clients with the nutrition business. I was in a relationship that I wasn't supposed to be in, that I was trying to break up out of. I was fasting far too much. I was doing, quote, all the right things like reading and ice bath and sleeping 8 hours, but I still felt like crap. And for me, a lot of that was the stress. At the same time, there are people that eat really well, they eat super healthy, but they don't realize that they're putting their hot food in plastic containers. They are using Teflon in these nonstick pans that have PFAS, which are forever chemicals that stay in your body and are extremely hard to eliminate. They don't realize that they're using a Brita filter, which doesn't do really anything for the water that you're drinking. And even if you are drinking like reverse osmosis and all these other things, like it's way better for sure, but you need to make sure your water is mineralized. You need to make sure that it's not stripped of all these nutrients by the time it gets like triple, quadruple filtered. That's why I drink spring water. I drink Carlsbad spring water, or I drink, I'm blanking on the other one, but there's another one here in San Diego, Palomar Mountain. And it can tell, you can like literally feel it healing your gut as you drink it. And so there's so many toxic chemicals in our filtered water or our unfiltered water. And there's just chemicals everywhere, right? And it's not that you want to live in a bubble or live in fear all the time, but the truth is you have to realize how much these things contribute to your weight and your energy lethargy and your chronic fatigue and your burnout. Because yeah, food is a huge, huge, huge factor. I have my degree in, or certification rather, in nutrition health coaching and hormone health. And then I also did a short course through Stanford. And it's so important to know that food is a huge, huge factor. But just because you're eating healthy produce doesn't mean that you're automatically going to be healthy, especially because of the industrialization of the food system. Like you need to make sure you're eating organic, and even better, like eating regenerative, and even better, knowing your farmer directly, and even better, trying to grow your own food if possible, because there is glyphosate all over the food. And that's something I take for granted, is that like people don't even know what glyphosate is. So glyphosate is basically the main ingredient in Roundup Ready weed killer. And that's what you spray on your crops, right? Or in your weeds that are in your driveway. But the thing is, there's a company that literally sprays it all over our food. 94% of cotton, right? I'm actually wearing my organic cotton shirt. It says rest is medicine. If you want to check it out on my website, we've got some good stuff. That matters, right? Our skin is our largest organ. That's why also, our laundry detergent and our cleaning products and our shampoo and conditioner and body wash also matter. It's literally the first line of defense to your immune system. If you wouldn't put it in your body, why would you put it on your body? And yeah, it's important to realize that these things add up. and they do stress your body out. But going back to the glyphosate, 94% of cotton, over 90%, I think it's 96% of corn, and like 94% of soy are all genetically modified. And the reason they're genetically modified is because these companies basically hybridized the seed, the original seed of these crops, and yeah, bioengineered them. Like literally, if you look at certain processed foods, it'll say, like if you look at goldfish and a lot of other processed food, it'll say contains bioengineered ingredients. And so the reason they do that is so that they can spray the glyphosate. It kills the insects and it kills all the things that are trying to eat the crop, but it doesn't kill the crop. So basically, glyphosate acts as a antibiotic in your stomach, because if it's killing these insects and these, things that are trying to eat the crop, like, and that kills them, then what do you think it's doing to your stomach, right? 90% of your serotonin, your happiness hormone, is in your gut. 70% of your immune system is in your gut. 90% of your neurotransmitters go from your gut up to your brain and not the other way around, right? The gut-brain connection, not the brain-gut connection. Gut health is health. All disease begins in the gut, right? Hippocrates, 2,000 years ago. And so you can't just like eat healthy and then, right? That's the most subjective term that's ever been created, healthy. And the people who think they're already healthy are the people that are most destined to set themselves up to not be healthy, because they think that they're trying everything and they think that they're doing all the right things. But how are your relationships? How is your home environment? Are you using glass instead of plastic? Are you using healthy cleaning products and laundry detergent? And it doesn't happen overnight. You don't want to overwhelm yourself. But the truth is, like, these things matter. Are you using plastic cutting boards, which shaves little pieces of microplastics into the knife and into the food? If you watch a documentary called The Plastic Detox, you'll understand. Or if you watch King Corn, you'll understand about the food industry. Or if you watch The C Word for free on YouTube, you'll understand how the food industry works. And it's not meant to set you up for success. The default is literally failure. And so there's literally a technical scientific term called obesogens that literally make you gain weight. And so I've talked about coffee on another video. I don't believe that's like actually in the category of it, but the whole reason I'm saying that is because it causes a lot of stress in your body. Too much of anything is never a good thing. There are a lot of benefits to coffee, but the poison's in the dose. And if you're chronically drinking coffee and you're chronically in a stressful job and a stressful relationship and a stressful home environment, and all these things I'm talking about haven't been sort of cleaned up in your house and your environment, then your body's going to be so overwhelmed. And the truth is, it's not necessarily your fault, and it is your responsibility. It's not necessarily your fault, and it is your responsibility, because you think that there's something wrong with you. You think that, why am I feeling this way? Or like, why do I have this chronic fatigue? And yeah, you got to set your boundaries. You got to set boundaries in your life with yourself so that you can set them with other people and other things, right? You can't just like have leaky energy around, let me just go on my phone whenever I want, or let me just eat whatever I want, like at any time of the day. That affects your sleep health. And social media and being on your phone and doom scrolling sucks your dopamine out of your brain. A lot of people talk about the calorie deficit, but it's really a dopamine deficit. And it's just insane, because we have created a society where we can't even freaking keep up with our own pace, and we create these technologies that actually create a need to create more technology, because we have this broken egotistical belief that we are not enough, and so we need to do more instead of existing and resting and being and actually aligning our biology into nature the way that it is designed. We are not meant to crank cortisol chronically. It is helpful to get us out of bed. It is helpful to run away if a lion's chasing us. It's helpful to, work through a stressful email or work through a stressful text or a stressful conversation, but it's not meant to be at a chronic level, because then the immune system gets so suppressed because it's just constantly in survival mode, and the body can't heal if you're constantly in survival mode. It can only heal in a state of gratitude and if it feels safe. And so if you're constantly suppressing your emotions and you're not sharing and you're not getting vulnerable with other people who are safe in themselves to hold that space for you, then you're going to stay in chronic survival mode, and you're going to have a chronic illness, and you're going to have this disease. Look, I went through Epstein-Barr, which is the hidden epidemic. Because if you have had Lyme, if you've had cancer, if you had MS, if you've had mold toxicity, if you've had parasites, almost every single time, most people have reactivated Epstein-Barr virus, because the only reason it typically reactivates because it remains dormant in most people, right? It's literally mono. It's like the kissing disease when, we all grew up in high school and stuff, and we were trashing our bodies and maybe drinking alcohol, and our immune systems were shot, or maybe you got it in college. But for most people, it remains dormant. But people who have like chronic fatigue or have these illnesses don't realize that they probably have that. And when I was going through my burnout, I started getting like weird heartburn issues for the first time. I got weird gut health issues. And of course, like the natural or the regular doctor was like, oh yeah, just take some Tums. So I was like, okay, peace, see you later. And so I started seeing a naturopath, and before she even tested me, she gave the prognosis of, yeah, you probably have Epstein-Barr. And I was like, what the hell is that? And then I went down the rabbit hole, and I learned a lot, and that was super helpful. And I took a lot of supplements, but none of it really moved the needle forward. The thing that moved the needle forward most was energy healing, and was getting into a vulnerable, safe space where I could express my feelings to other humans, because we are designed to co-regulate. We are designed to be in community. There were many group calls that I had with my mentor where I was crying in front of like 15 people. And not to mention, I was being very open about my journey on social media, which literally helped me heal. And so vulnerability is such a skill that I take for granted. But at the end of the day, I'm just telling my story and telling you what I went through and how I overcame it. So you think that like the stones will be thrown at you, or you think people will think of you differently. But 95% of what you think about never actually even happens. There's literally research on that from Stanford University. And I think it's 84% to be exact. And then like the 16% that did happen, people realized they could handle the situation better than they thought they could. And so that's what the brain does when you're constantly overthinking, you're constantly ruminating, you're constantly in this like shutdown mode with your nervous system. And so our nervous system is so overwhelmed in the modern day world. There's so many, like I said, obesogens like plastics and, stuff in our laundry detergent and our shampoo and conditioner and all that stuff, and not to mention in our food, right? Because the food industry was bought out by the cigarette industry in the mid 1980s, which was at the time the largest non-oil merger in history. And then people think it's their fault that they're addicted to like certain foods, or they're stress eating. And it is your responsibility, and it is important to regulate your nervous system. And you have to realize that we live in this world where it is hijacking our nervous system like no other, like an absolute mother effer. And so as long as we live in this society, until we all agree as humans that we ought to be living off the land and eating the lemons that come straight from the tree and the oranges that come straight from the tree, and eating regenerative, grass-fed, grass-finished beef, then you're going to have to create some skills to regulate your nervous system, because this, I'm telling you, is not normal. The reason you feel good when you go to the beach, the reason you feel good when you look at a sunset, the reason you feel good when you rest and sit underneath a tree, the reason you feel good when you're connecting with humans is because that's how our biology is wired. We're designed to co-regulate. We are part of nature, and the entire world that we've created today is basically the exact opposite. It strips us from nature. 94% of people are spending 94% of their day inside. Kids are on their iPads at the age of like 2 years old. Kids are eating crappy food and getting addicted to sugar at the age of like 4 years old. And so you're literally set up for failure. So my point in saying all this is that if you're gaining weight, right? I went to 200 pounds, and I'm usually like 185, 190 when I was burnt out, right? I shot up to 200 pounds, and it was funny because for a long time in my life, I wanted to be 200 pounds because like that's macho, and that's like, you're manly, and I'm strong and I'm yoked. But I struggled to get there because I realized it's not actually normal. And there's so many people that like bulk up that are literally, it's so bad for your body. Like bodybuilders are some of the most sick people of all time. Because either they're bulking up or they're cutting down way too much, and they're messing up their hormones like crazy. And so we need to slow down, and we need to understand that like our stress is caused from so many different things, and these obesogens literally make you gain weight. And if you're stressed, if you're misaligned, if you're living a life that's not in alignment with who you really want to be, it's crazy how much that alone, even if you're eating healthy, can literally make you gain weight. If you're stress eating, if you're using food as a coping mechanism, you're going to struggle. So all that to say, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. And if you're feeling burnt out, or you like this organic cotton merch, or you just want to learn more about Superfood Superhuman and how I help former athletes, high achievers, entrepreneurs overcome burnout so that they can finally feel like themselves again without having to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on supplements and blood testing, then reach out, comment on this video, The Aligned Human, and we'll take our first step together. So thanks for tuning in, and yeah, we'll see you in the next video.